well, if I want to be a founder of a company because I got an idea, do I have to know it all, the whole vision, or do I just get started? Like, how much do you feel one needs to know about what they're going to do before they really write a plan and go start getting money and hiring people and doing it?
You know, I think the first thing I would say is the level of conviction you have around and passion you have around solving the problem matters most, right? You don't have to, I did not have an entire plan about every step of the roadmap that we followed. Now, in this particular case, for both PayCycle and Bill.com, the vision of what it is that we were doing hasn't changed too much. It changed more for PayCycle than Bill.com. Bill.com, I took out a business card the other day that was one of the original, the one that I went down to Kinko's to make one before it was FedEx, right? And it said, you know, Cashview, name of the company back then.
Which I love that name.
It's a great
still,
name.
by the way.
Well, we still own it. So.
You still own it.
Yeah. It said automating payables, receivables, and cash management.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing 8 years later. So we haven't changed that, whereas PayCycle, we actually did make a few turns and got more focus on the accountant end of the product and then the SMB end, which we weren't focused originally.
Yeah. Well, so again, go back to the person that kind of watches you and like I do so much, and they see what you've done, but they don't really see what it took to do what you do. Why don't you start with, you already talked about the passion around a problem. So you had a passion, I assume, about payroll, but that wasn't new. Your passion was the cloud. So, like, what do I need to have in order to know that I've got something that's really going to be big?
So I think for PayCycle, part of the reason I started the company was it felt like I'd had enough experience. If I was going to start a company, it was a good time to do it, right? And so while I had passion around making payroll simpler for people and making it more affordable for businesses, that wasn't as much a driving force, right? It was me just saying it's time for me to grow and go try this. I've got a history of people doing this. Whereas with Bill.com, it really was a pain point that I felt. I did not feel the pain point in payroll. I was a group product manager responsible for it.
You didn't do payroll.
I didn't, right? I mean, I went out and watched people do it, but I didn't actually do it, right? And then when I started PayCycle, the first thing I did is I started doing payroll by hand, so I could actually learn, you know, all the painful steps along the way for, you know, half a dozen customers, right? And that informed a lot of the great product features that we ended up building. And for Bill.com, it was, I was paying the bills, I was doing the collections, I was doing all that by hand, so that just kind of came naturally. But I think, you know, that the passion around the problem that you're solving has to be matched, if not, it needs to be greater to have a passion around building a culture in a company that's going to be successful. Because, you know, every problem you attack, there's going to be ups and downs. And if you're not focused on building a place that rolls with the punches, that has fun doing that, then you're not going to have fun. Right.
And you really won't get there.
You won't. So we defined our values. I had a set of values that I had defined before I started the company. We defined them with the early employees. We've, you know, looked at them since, and we bring them up in company conversations and meetings, and it just kind of guides how you build a company. And what you're true to, right? You have to have your true north. So.
All right, a little bit back on yourself a little bit. Hobbies, skills, or something that kind of you use to blow off steam, or that you've used to actually excel and push what you're doing professionally?
So I've got 2 young boys, and obviously the family life is really important, and making sure I have enough time with Joyce and the boys. And it's fun to watch them grow, and they're both avid swimmers, and they both are, you know, talented at stuff that, you know, like all kids, they have their talents. It's just fun to watch that. So I would say that's probably my most important hobby, right? If you call it a hobby, right? I mean, it's a full-time job. But then, you know, what I do to off steam, I play Ultimate Frisbees on Tuesdays, and it's just a tremendous amount of fun to get out there and not to think about anything other than, can I catch that Frisbee? Can I throw that Frisbee? And it's an hour, and it's engaged with other people, but yet it's really something that has nothing to do with what the rest of my life is. So that is great. I'm a huge runner. You know, I run 35 to 40 miles a week, and so that's just, and that's helped. And I've only started doing that in the last 15 months, and that's just changed how I think about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so.
Do you find exercise changes your mental state?
I do. There definitely are endorphins that you get from it, but
Mm-hmm.
more for me, there's a type of meditation that I can get into when I'm running. Now, I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
obviously I'm watching the pebbles and rocks as I'm running the hills, right? I'm
Sure.
watching that stuff, but I relax enough that if thoughts from the company or stresses come from the company come in, I let them go and quickly push them out. So there's a lot of stuff going through,
Mm-hmm.
but it's allowing me to kind of relax. I don't go with headphones. I'm
Yeah.
listening for the birds.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to enjoy nature the way it was intended to be enjoyed. And
Yeah.
I find that creates a balanced perspective. It's one of the reasons I like to do the dishes at home.
Right.
That if I can do one thing that made the world a better place today that I'm confident did,
Yeah.
right? Like all the stuff you do in building a company,
Sure. Right. You're not sure.
you're not sure at that moment, right?
Yeah,
you know, did I motivate the employees today or did I demotivate them?
Yeah.
You're not sure. You have a plan, right?
Right.
But if I do the dishes, I know I helped the family, right?
Yeah.
If I go for a run, I know I helped me personally, right?
Right.
So keeping hold of a couple of those things that you know can keep you, honest, then I think it helps you
Yeah.
balance all the other challenges that you
Yeah.
have.
So, talk about some of the difficulties in your life that you had to really like overcome or change or jump over. How do you deal with adversity, and what comes to your mind when that happens?
I think adversity is just a fact of life, right? I mean, it happens, and so I'll give a metaphor. When I was living in Florida, I was raised in Florida, and was looking at colleges, and ended up coming out to California.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of concern in the family about, there's earthquakes there, and
Yeah.
are you going to make it? What if there's a big earthquake and building falls and you're going to die, right? And the aha that I had was in Florida, and it's gotten worse with the weather patterns that we've been having,
Right.
but in Florida, when I was a kid, the grocery bags had a map of the Atlantic Ocean from Africa to Florida so you could track a hurricane,
Mhm.
right? Because back then you didn't have the web, you didn't have the real-time ability,
No.
so you had to track it. So the grocery bags were helping you plan for something that you had a very small chance of ever happening, right?
Right.
Whereas earthquakes, it's like, if the building starts coming down as we're filming this, you and I will find a way to deal with it,
Yeah.
right?
Or not.
Or not,
That'll
right?
be fine too.
Right, and so I think for me, planning,
Right.
for the worst is not ever good,
Yeah.
right? So when the worst happens, dealing with it. That's why I brought the analogy, dealing with it and kind of
Right.
honestly
Yeah.
making it comfortable to talk about. So we could talk about 2008 when I had to lay off 40% of the employees,
Yeah.
right? It was not a great day. It was an awful thing to have to do.
Yeah.
But the way we did it was with honesty. We explained some macroeconomic trends that were going on. We dove into what that meant from the microeconomic level that was going on in the valley and with the company,
Yeah.
and everybody got it.
Yeah.
We were all sad, but everybody got
Yeah.
it. And so then when we made the decisions, people said, "I get it."
Yeah.
So when you talk about adversity, the way I think you have to do it, whether it's personal, and there's plenty of personal stuff I can get into.
Sure.
You just have to accept it, but you have to create all the
Right.
picture so that you can accept it,
Right.
and then you move forward.
So thank you so much for being with me in the neighborhood, and I hope to see you real soon.
Okay, you
Thank
bet, Doug. Thank you.
See ya.